Welcome, everyone, to the C-Suite Sales and Marketing Perspectives podcast. I'm Steve McDonald, your host. Today, we have a brilliant guest on, Guillem Fiter. And Guillem, you are the CMO of Opti Digital. You've worked in a number of different companies in a number of different countries, everywhere from Vancouver to Barcelona. And you've started out as an engineer. You came into marketing, and I'm going to let you kind of tell us how you made that transition. But since then, you've been launching companies and working as a CMO. And so we're going to talk today about how important the people equation is to creating unicorns. It's our goal, right? We all want to create exponential growth within our companies. And you have a very, very strong philosophy on how important the people are and why. So we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that today. But before we do that, I would love to hear a little bit more about you and your background before we dive in.
Thanks, Steve, and thanks for having me here. It's a pleasure to be. Yes, on my career as an engineer, I spent like 10 years working as engineer in several companies. And basically, most of them are global companies. And after several years, I had the opportunity to work in an industrial company, very well known in Europe, in the marketing department. And then I fell in love with marketing. So I decided to focus my career in marketing after that. And so I've been working in several companies, not just in industrial marketing. And I moved ahead, and then I fell in the job industry. I have been working in SaaS companies and in marketplaces, global companies also, from startups to scale-ups and corporates in different kind of sectors, industries, and markets. And right now I'm at Opti Digital, that is a martech provider with more than 8,000 seats worldwide. And so happy to be here.
Well, great. So, what's interesting is you and I, when we were talking before, the topic here just emerged naturally out of our conversations of, what makes unicorns? That's kind of where we started. And you focused and you landed on the people. And I'd like to know just your point of view on kind of what I'm calling the people factor, right? In creating this exponential growth. How would you articulate what that people factor is?
Yeah, so I understand that there are several factors when you are just releasing a new company with a new product to the market. So the growth to market strategy is probably the key. And you have to the product market fit. So it's another factor you have to take into consideration. There are a lot of variables, but in my opinion, the most important thing is the people who is behind. So a very strong team that is committed to the project and is engaged with it is actually the value of the project itself. I will say that at the beginning of the company, it's the more critical factor to consider. Otherwise, probably the project is going to fail because there is not commitment. There are other things, in my opinion, that we should actually consider. One of them is that all these people that actually is in the company, actually they are the face in front of the customers a lot of times. So it's important that they are engaged, they are happy, and they are committed to the project, because otherwise probably the flavor or the feedback the customer is going to have about your project is not going to be the best one. So it's important to take care of your team in order to ensure to have the best results in your go-to-market strategy.
So, you brought up the team. And the team, you're talking about it, not even just like the marketing department team, you're talking about the entire company, right? And you'd spoken before about making sure that we have the right team culture, or the right culture inside of the organization. What is the culture all about in terms of, creating that kind of environment for the employees to have them engaged, and like you're saying, they're client facing or they're creating client facing experiences. Why is culture so important?
Well, in my opinion, it's really important. It does to create this internal trust, that people engage with the company. In my opinion, and the way I work with my team is facing them challenges or putting them challenges in order to ensure that actually they are motivated and they are committed at the same time with our projects. I mean, salary is important for sure, but I believe that it's more important the project itself in order to feel that you are complete with what you are doing, right? Uh, So, in my opinion, it's important to bring them new challenge in order to make them grow. And also taking this into account, what is important is that they fail and they find issues. They have barriers that they have to actually to solve in order to reach the right results, the right goals. And basically, there is one thing behind of this mindset, and it's basically that. And the most important thing is that you fail, because if you don't fail, you don't grow. So yeah, success is it's really nice, and you can have a lot of takeaways of success. But if you fail, it's a lesson that you will never forget, right? So this is, my opinion, is important that to focus on challenges, to focus on fails, to fail fast and cheap, and progress.
It's interesting. One of the things that can make up a really good company culture is the atmosphere that it's okay to fail, right? That failing is a part of learning. And we had on a gentleman, he was a chief information security officer. And he said, you know what? He goes, the number one thing that I do when I come into an organization is I assess the culture of my team. Is because how we make decisions as a team is actually more important than the individual decisions that are being made. And the collaboration and the psychological safety to be able to really feel like I can challenge decisions that are being made. I can trudge forward and make decisions, and I can sometimes fail, and that's okay because I'm trying, right? And just to underscore what you're saying on culture here, I'd love to get your thoughts on this. I've had two different CMO, CRO combinations on the podcast here, and we've talked about culture, and they've each attributed more than 50% of their company's success to their company's culture, primarily because it attracts and retains the best people. And you have to have the best people, the highest performance teams in order to create success. I would love to ask you what you thought in terms of just the company you're with now, the companies you've been with. What would you say is the degree of success that you would attract or attribute to the company's culture?
Yeah, for sure. So I've been in really tough companies culture, I have to say. I will say there was lots of rotation in the team. It was a really hard time for all the employees. And I do believe that for sure it's not the right way to grow, because you are burning out your team, and it's not the way to actually to scale. It's basically the way to actually have sure benefits. Um, on the other hand, I've been working with really good leaders, managers, founders with a clear vision that they are committed with their people. They take care of them. This company has had a really great success. Actually, they have a good exit. So they have been involved with really good success. For sure, culture, it's a must if you want to scale, if you want to grow. It's something that you have to take care. You have to be, in my opinion, transparent and natural. For sure, you have to have your own if you are at C-level. But on the other hand, for sure, you have to talk about transparency and being human. I think that is the most important thing, to being human with the rest of your team. It's key.
So, the idea of focusing on the people, you had a part of that success equation that was focusing on our internal people, but our external people. And what you meant by that, I think, was that understanding truly the people that we sell to, right? Internal culture is about bringing together an environment where that people are engaged and they're focused and they love being a part of the team and a part of that mission. The external focus on people is really, who are we serving? And how are we passionate about understanding their challenges? And how do we align our internal mission with the mission of supporting them? Right. And so, why is it essential to kind of go beyond like just a high level of familiarity and truly understand deeply the external people that are going to make us so successful, right? Our ICP, our ideal customer profile.
Yeah, for sure. So basically, ICP is key in order to sell our products to the market. Nowadays, I believe that the concept of ICP is actually changing a lot, and let me explain that. So basically, we have the technology, and also the world is moving so fast. So basically, it's the ICP is mostly changing on monthly basis or a daily basis, because we have new technologies, new social networks. We have now AI. So every year is changing a lot of things. So what is working today, probably tomorrow is not going to work anymore. And for the ICP, it's exactly the same. So the need they have today, probably they are not the needs they are going to have tomorrow. So it's important to understand your ICP and to actually talk with it in order to understand which one are their needs, the wishes, the wants, in order to ensure that you understand exactly how you can help. So, but it's important, I believe also, is to create this unique experience, right? In order to ensure that you can actually create positive mark of your brand. Uh, Otherwise, it's difficult because there is a lot of competition in the market. So probably you are going to release one new product and it's going to be copied in 2 weeks time. So because there is a lot of competition and we have a lot of new technologies, and it's pretty easy to copy almost everything in a short period of time. And I believe that it's a differentiator factor. It's the experience that you bring to your prospect, to your customers along all this buyer journey. I believe it's key in order to create this positive message of your brand in the customer.
You brought up something so important here. I mean, we're living in the day and age where ChatGPT is writing code, right? And I'm a former SaaS founder. I love SaaS. We used to want to rely on differentiation from our tech, our product, right? But in this day and age, if we come out with something we even think is revolutionary, innovative, right? It can be copied in such a short period of time. Creating long-term success, unicorn success, you can't rely anymore on technology, product, feature, benefits to provide that long-term sustainable success and differentiation. In fact, there was a study that was done by McKinsey and Company, and they found that the number one differentiator, as you said, is amongst highly profitable companies today is CX. It's not our product. Right? And we got so many competitors out there. There's no way we're going to be the low cost leader, right? So, price and product, if we can't stand on those two legs of the stool, I think what you just introduced is extremely important. There's a third leg, CX, right? And the only way we're going to deliver the best customer experience is if we understand our customer better than our competition. So you're talking about a whole new level of competitive advantage. I love it. I love it. So understand the ICP for competitive advantage. Tell me a little bit about how important that really is in creating, as a marketer, we're not typically known for creating another competitive advantage. We're usually known for like communicating our competitive advantages, right? But you're talking about actually helping the company create a competitive advantage, knowledge and understanding of our ICP. Did I get that right?
Yeah, correct. And to sell our product, it's important to create these experiences for sure. It's also important to understand their business. And in order to understand their business, it's important to understand the customer of our customer. So as B2B companies, they have, for example, we can have other B2B companies as clients, but also B2C companies as clients. So it's important to understand which one is the value that we bring to the customer of our customers. So we will help our customers to sell better. For sure, we will have a lot of value for them. And this is, in my opinion, is key because the value proposition goes a little bit farther in order to understand that how we can help them and which one is the value proposition. It's not just about KPIs. Well, in B2B, a lot of KPIs, the ROI, and a lot of insights. But beyond that, what it's important is to understand how we can actually help them to sell more, to bring satisfaction to the customers. And the way to do it is basically to understanding the customers of our customers.
So if the key here is understanding our customers, right? And all of us in the B2B world, we're all having sales conversations with the exact same ICP. Right? It's not like, our competitors are defining in a completely different ICP. So we're all having sales conversations. We all have customers. We're having customer success conversations. We all have the ability to understand the customer just as good as the other guy, right? How do we understand our customers deeper, more meaningful, better than our competition? Is there a way that we should be thinking about doing that that's different than kind of the typical way that in the course of running our business and we have sales processes and customer success processes, right? And we have, ticket systems. We have all kinds of ways that we interact with prospects and customers. But if we all have the same systems, what makes our way of understanding the customer better?
So I believe that it's important to have this holistic view so that you understand, you have all the touch points of your customer. You understand the business of your customer. And then with all these insights, you can actually figure out which one is the best approach for each one of the customers. So you can get insights from market perspective, and probably is not the right approach because you are targeting really tier one customers. So probably you have to implement another kind of a strategy, more ABM approach. So it depends a little bit on what you want to actually focus on, what are your business goals objective. And according to this, then you can figure out which one is the best strategy. So in order to understand your ICP, you have to, considering what we have mentioned previously about that it's changing on daily basis. So it is necessary to actually rethink and to understand every single time how is evolving the ICP, because what is now probably is not going to be tomorrow. So it's important to make the right questions and the right time in order to understand how is evolving the market and the customers.
And it's one thing that's true all the time is that our ICP is complex and always changing, right? Our market is complex and always changing. How do you evolve with the market? We've talked about the culture. We've talked about the importance of people internally and externally, understanding your ICP and staying up with the trends. But there's the overall market too, that's constantly evolving. How do we stay flexible and keep learning about the changes and the dynamics that are happening in the market?
So it's a question of listening a lot. So basically, you have to understand. We can use several tools, lot of tools, but we need to understand all the different touch points. We have to listen a lot. And if our product needs improvements, if it's in the right direction. So it's important to listen a lot to the customers and to get a lot of insights of the customers of the market, basically. Otherwise, it's kind of difficult to figure out how is evolving the ICP. So the only way to do it is having a lot of, I will say, sonars or radars in order to understand exactly how is evolving the ICP, to have some alarms just in case that we are in the really bad direction. So we have these warnings that prevent us to make bad decisions. But also important to get in touch on daily basis with our customers to understand and the prospects also, because there is a lot of market information there. This is, in my opinion, is crucial in order to ensure that we are listening to the market, we are listening to our customers, and we are in the right path.
So, you talk about, staying in touch. Is that literally proactively having conversations, like as the CMO, right, of the organization? Is it important to have those kinds of conversations with customers? Or can we rely on the sales conversations, the customer success conversations, the ticket systems? Like, how do we need to stay in touch? And are we doing it well now? Or is that something that needs to evolve? Right? Is the market's evolving, the ICP is evolving. Like, how do we stay up with all of that? Do we just need to be talking to more customers? Is that a part of the equation?
Yeah. So one of the things I have learned in my career, so there are companies that see marketing as something that is really like really out of market. So it's like in the clouds. So they are not actually landing all their needs and they are not talking with customers. So it's like very theoretical, but they don't understand the reality of the market. So they are losing, I believe, a lot. In my opinion, good companies are the ones that the marketing team is actually in the field and they understand exactly what are the customers' needs. They will actually, I will say, perceive evolutions or trends before than anyone else, and salespeople also. So it is so important to have feedback from all the touch points. So it doesn't matter who is, I will say, the person or the speaker with the customer. So it can be like sales, can be success, can be product. The most important thing is that we are able to actually get all this information, all these insights in first person to understand the evolution and then to make the right decisions according to this information. In theory, something that has been working for the last 5 years, it should work now, but probably it's not going to happen. So it's important that you understand your market and you understand the customers you are targeting.
I think I just had one of the most important takeaways from our conversation here. And you talked about the need just then for in-person insights first person insights. And what I'm taking away from that, tell me if your intention was any different, was we've got to be out there as CMOs. We got to be talking to customers, right? In an environment where we're not selling to customers, we're not trying to cross-sell and upsell to customers. Like those are our natural workflows within sales and customer success. So there is a very important, highest priority goal in sales and customer success, where I'm taking away from you is we need to have these like first person conversations where the goal is to learn. It's not to sell, it's not to cross sell, it's not to upsell, it's to learn. Is that a good takeaway from what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not as much as I want because there are a lot of work to do, but yeah, I've had some conversation with customers. It's important to go to the different great sales in the market. It's also important to jump into calls with customers, even if you cannot stay to see it afterwards. So yeah, I think it's mandatory for a CMO nowadays to understand and to be in touch with the market, first person.
Well, I have one more question to ask you because we've talked about a lot. And if we wanted the audience to have a most important, a single takeaway that you wanted to make sure they had, right? If you could boil it all down to here's the most important thing to remember from our entire conversation today, what would that be?
Well, in terms of business, there is one probably. I will say that the most important thing is a team. If you want to scale, so you have to surround about really good professionals, but professionals you can trust in the long race you are gonna face. So this is, in my opinion, is critical. Stay I will say, in a company with a very safe culture. There is also critical to, I will say that is the ingredients and the fundamentals, the foundations for success.
I had this conversation earlier with the CEO of a company. It's like a 20-year-old company, and they're a partner. They help with Salesforce implementations. And I asked him, what's the number one challenge to growing your company today? And you know what he said? He said, it's the team. He said, I feel like I used to have like 60% dream teamers in my company. And now I feel like I have maybe 25%, right? If you don't have those dream teamers, right, those high performance teams, that's, I think, what a different way of articulating what you said here is you've got to focus on that team, right? If the team isn't there, you're not going to be able to execute, no matter how good your product is, your technology is, right? So I think it's words of wisdom for us to take away. And here's what I know. People are probably going to have more questions for you. Is it appropriate that I give out a link to your LinkedIn profile so people could reach out and ask questions?
Yes, sir. Otherwise.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing. And we rarely have the opportunity just to kind of have a conversation about the things that are important, that are happening in the dynamics of how we create success and unicorn success in our business. So I just really appreciate you coming in and helping me kind of expand that conversation today. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.